That gray deck is not rotting. That silver fence is not dying. That weathered picnic table you have been meaning to throw away for 3 years is not ruined. The wood underneath is perfectly alive. What you are looking at is a corpse sitting on top of a living body. The gray layer on every piece of outdoor wood you own is a film of dead cells no thicker than a sheet of paper. And beneath that film, the original golden brown heartwood is exactly the same color it was the day the lumber left the mill. You have been staring at a mask, and everything the paint and stain industry has told you about restoring weathered wood, the sanding, the stripping, the $40 gallons of deck stain, the $2,000 to $8,000 professional refinishing quotes, all of it is designed to make you believe the mask is the wood. It is not. The mask is dead lignin, oxidized tannins, and microscopic fungal pigment. And there is a powder that dissolves that mask in 15 minutes, revealing the original wood color underneath without removing a single fiber of the living surface. No sanding, no scraping, no pressure washer, no power tools. The powder is oxalic acid. It costs $2 per treatment for an entire deck. And every professional wood restoration contractor in America uses it as the essential second step in every restoration job, while the $150 billion global paint and coatings industry makes absolutely sure you never learn its name. Welcome to Camping Secrets. If these stories matter to you, the subscribe button and the bell are the best way to make sure this knowledge survives. This is where we dig up what the industry buried. Now, let me take you inside the wood itself. Because until you understand why wood turns gray, you will keep believing the lie that gray means dead, and you will keep paying to replace material that needed nothing more than a $2 chemical bath. Wood is composed of 3 primary structural components. Cellulose, which is the fibrous skeleton that gives wood its strength. Hemicellulose, which is the binding matrix between cellulose fibers. And lignin, which is the rigid polymer that holds everything together and gives wood its color. Lignin is brown. That warm honey, amber, golden tone you see in fresh-cut lumber is the natural color of lignin. When wood is exposed to sunlight, ultraviolet radiation penetrates the surface to a depth of approximately 75 microns, less than the thickness of a human hair. At that shallow depth, the UV energy is absorbed by the lignin molecules, which are excellent light absorbers. The UV photons break the chemical bonds in the lignin polymer, fragmenting it into smaller water-soluble compounds that are washed away by rain. As the lignin degrades and leaches out, the remaining surface becomes enriched in cellulose, which is naturally gray-white. This is why weathered wood turns silver-gray. You are seeing the cellulose skeleton left behind after the brown lignin has been destroyed and washed away by rain. But that is only half the story, and the second half is the detail that nobody in the paint industry wants you to know. As the lignin degrades, the iron naturally present in the wood, deposited there by iron-containing nails, screws, hardware, rainwater that contacted metal gutters, and even iron minerals in the soil, reacts with tannins in the wood. Tannins are polyphenolic compounds found in high concentrations in cedar, redwood, oak, and most softwoods. When dissolved iron meets dissolved tannin in the presence of moisture, they form iron tannate, a blue-black pigment compound that darkens the wood far beyond what UV degradation alone would cause. This is why some weathered wood is not just gray, but actively black in certain areas. The black streaks around nail heads, the dark stains below metal hardware, the blotchy discoloration on cedar fences, all of that is iron tannate. It is not mold, it is not rot. It is a chemical stain created by the reaction of 2 substances that were always present in the wood and the fasteners holding it together. The gray is dead lignin. The black is iron tannate. Neither is structural damage. Neither has penetrated more than a fraction of a millimeter into the wood surface. And both can be removed by a single compound that has been known to chemistry since 1769. Here is where oxalic acid enters the story. And where it enters, the paint industry exits. Oxalic acid was first isolated by the German chemist Johann Christian Wegelab in 1769 from wood sorrel, a common flowering plant whose genus name oxalis gave the acid its name. In 1776, the legendary Swedish chemist Carl Wilhelm Scheele, the man who independently discovered oxygen, synthesized oxalic acid by reacting sugar with nitric acid. He called it sugar acid. By 1784, Scheele had proved that the synthetic and natural forms were chemically identical. Scheele was an extraordinary figure. Working as a humble pharmacist in Sweden, he discovered or isolated more chemical elements and compounds than any other scientist of his era, including oxygen, chlorine, manganese, barium, and at least 7 organic acids. His work with oxalic acid laid the foundation for modern organic chemistry, and a compound he characterized in a Swedish pharmacy nearly 250 years ago is still the single most effective wood brightener available to the modern homeowner. Oxalic acid dissolves the gray layer on weathered wood through two simultaneous chemical mechanisms. First, it chelates iron. Oxalic acid is a powerful chelating agent, meaning its molecular structure wraps around metal ions and locks them into a water-soluble complex called ferrioxalate. When you apply oxalic acid solution to darkened wood, the acid molecules seek out the iron atoms trapped in the iron tannate stain, bind to them, and pull them into solution. The iron tannate complex disintegrates. The black and dark gray staining lifts off the surface and rinses away with water. The wood beneath is revealed in its original tannin-rich, warm brown tone. Second, it mildly bleaches the oxidized cellulose surface. The degraded lignin fragments and oxidized surface compounds are dissolved or loosened by the acidic solution, allowing them to be rinsed away. The combination of iron chelation and surface brightening produces a transformation that is visually stunning. Gray, lifeless, apparently ruined wood becomes golden brown and alive in 15 to 30 minutes of dwell time. This is not cleaning, this is chemistry. You are not scrubbing dirt off the wood. You are dissolving a chemical stain at the molecular level and revealing the unstained wood beneath it. And here is the detail that every professional wood restoration contractor knows and the paint industry prays you never connect. Every branded wood brightener product sold at every hardware store in America contains oxalic acid as its active ingredient. Every single one. The product called deck brightener, wood renewer, or wood neutralizer is oxalic acid in a branded container at a 400 to 1000% markup over the raw powder. A 16-ounce container of branded wood brightener costs $10 to $20 and treats 100 to 200 square feet. A 2-pound bag of pure oxalic acid powder costs $8 to $12 from any chemical supplier, woodworking store, or online retailer and treats 800 to 1,600 square feet, enough to do an entire deck, fence, and patio furniture set multiple times over. The cost per square foot of deck treatment is approximately 1/4 cent. A standard 300 square foot deck costs roughly 75 cents in oxalic acid to brighten. If you have made it this far, you already know more about wood weathering chemistry than 99% of homeowners and the vast majority of the paint store employees who have been selling them $40 gallons of deck stain for surfaces that were not properly prepared to receive it. Subscribe and share this with someone who is about to spend $2,000 on deck refinishing for a problem that $2 worth of powder solves in an afternoon. Now stay with me because the economics of the paint industry's relationship with weathered wood are where this story turns from frustrating to criminal. The global paint and coatings market generates over $150 billion annually. The architectural coatings segment, which includes all residential and commercial paints, stains, and sealers, accounts for approximately $60 billion of that total. Deck stains and exterior wood coatings are one of the highest margin product categories in the entire industry because they require repeat purchase every 2 to 5 years. Here is the mechanism the paint industry never discloses. When you apply deck stain over weathered, gray, unbright wood, the stain does not penetrate properly. The dead lignin layer and iron tannate deposits create a barrier that prevents the stain from soaking into the living wood fibers below. The stain sits on top of the dead layer instead of inside the wood. Within 1 to 2 seasons, the stain peels, flakes, and fails because it was adhered to a dead surface that continues to degrade underneath. The homeowner blames the stain. They buy a new brand. They apply it over the same improperly prepared surface. It fails again. They call a professional. The professional charges $2,000 to $8,000. The cycle repeats every 3 to 5 years for the life of the deck. If the homeowner had brightened the wood with oxalic acid before staining, the dead layer would have been removed, the wood pores would have been opened, and the stain would have penetrated into the living cellulose fibers where it bonds mechanically and lasts 3 to 5 times longer. One $2 treatment before staining can save hundreds of dollars in premature stain failure and reapplication. Professional contractors know this. They call it the 3-step system. Step 1, clean. Step 2, brighten with oxalic acid. Step 3, stain or seal. Every professional restoration follows this protocol. The brightening step is non-negotiable in the professional world, and it is never mentioned to the homeowner buying stain at the hardware store because the faster the stain fails, the sooner they buy another gallon. Now, here is exactly how to use it. And this method is the same protocol that professional deck restoration contractors charge $15 to $25 per square foot to perform. Step 1. Purchase oxalic acid powder. It is sold as oxalic acid, wood bleach, or barkeeper's helper ingredient at woodworking supply stores, chemical suppliers, and online. A 2-pound bag costs $8 to $12 and treats an enormous area. Step 2. Dissolve 4 to 8 ounces of oxalic acid powder per gallon of warm water. Stir until fully dissolved. The solution will be clear and colorless. Use warm water, not cold, to speed dissolution of the crystals. Step 3. Pre-wet the wood surface and all surrounding vegetation with plain water from a garden hose. Oxalic acid can damage plants if applied directly to dry foliage. Pre-wetting dilutes any overspray on contact. Step 4. Apply the oxalic acid solution to the wood surface using a pump sprayer, a brush, or a mop. Work in manageable sections. Apply generously so the surface is fully saturated. On vertical surfaces like fences, start at the bottom and work upward to prevent streaking from solution running down over dry wood. Step 5. Let the solution dwell for 10 to 20 minutes. Keep the surface wet by reapplying solution if it begins to dry. You will see the color change happen in real time. Gray areas will lighten, black iron tannate stains will dissolve. The warm natural color of the wood will emerge from beneath the dead surface layer. It is one of the most visually dramatic transformations in home improvement. It looks like time running backwards. Step 6. Rinse thoroughly with a garden hose or low-pressure setting on a pressure washer. Rinse the wood surface, surrounding vegetation, and any hardscape that may have received overspray. The dissolved iron complexes and dead surface material rinse away with the water, leaving clean, bright, golden wood behind. Step 7. Allow the wood to dry for 48 to 72 hours before applying any stain, sealer, or oil finish. The wood moisture content should be below 15% for softwoods and below 20% for hardwoods before applying a coating. A dry surface allows maximum stain penetration into the freshly opened pores. Step 8. If you choose to leave the wood unfinished, the brightened surface will begin to weather again over time. UV degradation is ongoing. However, you can reapply oxalic acid annually or biannually to maintain the bright appearance, or apply a UV-blocking sealer or stain to slow the weathering cycle dramatically. I need to be completely honest with you about limitations. Oxalic acid is toxic if ingested and can cause skin and eye irritation on contact. Wear rubber gloves, eye protection, and avoid breathing the powder dust when mixing. Work in a well-ventilated outdoor environment, which is the natural setting for deck restoration. Oxalic acid removes iron-based stains and UV weathering discoloration. It does not remove paint, solid color stain, or synthetic coatings. If your deck has an existing paint or solid stain that is peeling, you need a chemical stripper to remove the coating before brightening the wood underneath. Oxalic acid will not reverse actual structural damage. If the wood is soft, punky, splintering deeply, or showing signs of rot when probed with a screwdriver, the damage has penetrated beyond the cosmetic surface layer, and the board may need replacement. Oxalic acid restores appearance. It does not restore structural integrity. And one detail that will make your next stain job last twice as long as every previous one. After brightening with oxalic acid, neutralize the wood surface by rinsing with a solution of 2 tablespoons of baking soda per quart of water. This brings the wood pH back to a neutral range and ensures the acid residue does not interfere with the chemistry of oil-based or water-based stain adhesion. Professional contractors call this the neutralization step, and skipping it is the single most common reason homeowner stain jobs fail, even after proper brightening. This knowledge was never locked in a vault. It has been in the professional wood restoration playbook for decades. Every deck restoration company uses oxalic acid. Every wood brightener product contains it. Carl Wilhelm Scheele characterized it in 1776. The chemistry is 250 years old. The application protocol is in every professional training manual. The only place it does not appear is in the paint aisle at the hardware store, where the employee will sell you a $40 gallon of stain for a surface that has not been prepared to receive it and will fail within 2 seasons because the dead layer was never removed and the pores were never opened and the iron tannate stains were never dissolved. A $150 billion paint industry depends on that stain failing. A $2 bag of powder prevents the failure. And every deck that peels, every fence that flakes, every stain job that lasts 1 summer instead of 5 is not a product defect. It is a preparation deficiency that costs 75 cents to correct. That gray deck you have been avoiding all summer could be golden brown by this weekend. That silver fence your neighbors have been staring at could look like fresh lumber by Sunday. That weathered picnic table you were about to drag to the curb could be the centerpiece of your next backyard dinner. The wood was never dead. The color was just buried under a layer of chemistry that a Swedish pharmacist solved 250 years ago for the price of a bag of sugar. If this vault changed how you see the gray wood on your property, subscribe and share this video right now. Every share puts this knowledge in front of someone. The paint industry was counting on staining, failing, and staining again in an endless cycle that never solves the actual problem. Every subscription keeps this channel digging deeper into the vaults they thought were sealed forever.